Good morning and welcome to the press conference from Tripoli to Brussels, amplifying the voices of refugees in Libya. Ahead of the European Council, we will hear first-hand experiences from refugees and migration activists. We have here today with us David Yambio, co-founder and spokesperson for refugees in Libya, Ella Kanakan from Alarm Phone Tunisia, Mokhtar Nalosu from Alarm Phone Sahara, and the Left MEP Miguel Urban Crespo from Spain. We have interpretation in English, Spanish and French, and we will take questions from the room and online after the speakers, of course. I will give now the floor to David, please.
Thank you so much for having us here today. But it's a pity that at the same time we are bringing voices from Libya to Brussels. Parliamentarians, diplomats are now sitting somewhere in their comfort, deciding the fate of people who have been systematically silenced and are put to go through different cycles of torture, humiliation, dehumanization, and violations of international and national human rights standards. That does not apply to us. I'm here today in this parliament not only bringing the stories from Libya, but bringing the reality which I had to live on my body, which I had to witness children, women go through. When I left my country, South Sudan, in 2016, due to civil war, I never imagined that one day I will risk my life again for the second time, looking for recognition to cross the Mediterranean, only to be denied, only to be rejected, only to be neglected, only to be imprisoned, only to be exploited, only to be raped, only to be put to forced labor, only to be forcibly conscripted with the complicity of the EU and political approach to migratory impact. Today, the experiences that I have witnessed while in Libya and with my four-time attempt to cross the Mediterranean, I have seen women who were raped. And it is this commission, the people who are here, who raped these people with their politics, with the migration policies that they draw, and we suffer it on our bodies. The people who have died since 2013 to this time in the central Mediterranean, this commission have killed them with the migratory deterrence impact that they are using, the techniques, the mechanisms that they have introduced into engaging with the Libyan authorities is unacceptable and it is deadly. The enslavement which I have witnessed in Libya, the auctioning of people in 2017, in this 21st era, is unacceptable. It is this commission, the people who make these decisions, who are enslaving people on the move, refugees, asylum seekers, and all that comes about with seeking recognition. When I was in Libya last year in 2022, the 28th of April, I was hiding from the Libyan authorities and from the militias who wanted to silence me and to silence the people who have been constantly silenced, but not anymore because we were already so full of it and we wanted to seek recognition. We wanted to call for our rights to be respected and protected. When I was speaking to this parliament, no step, there was no political will to change the situation in which we are living in. Today, after our protest movement, which was born out of the need to voice out these atrocities, to voice out this human rights violation which is happening in Libya and in Brussels here, we were not listened to. It is the same situation which is happening today. And when I come here to this commission today, I am coming to hold these parliamentarians accountable, because before we hold the Italians for the shipwrecks off the coast of Cutro, we must hold this commission for the migration policies that they are making. Before we go into Greece and call them the shield of Europe, forcing them to drown more than 600 people, we must hold this commission responsible. We are charging this commission with murder, with rape, with enslavement, with torture, and with everything inhuman that comes about. We denounce hypocrisy, we denounce lack of recognition, we denounce all this structural racism. Because the movement and the freedom of movement we experience today, with my one-year experience in Europe, I am able to fly from Italy, to go to Denmark, to have my dinner there, and to come back and sleep in my room in Italy. Why is this not happening in Niger, in Libya, in Algeria? We need 2 months to cross from one border to another because of these policies that does not allow us to breathe. It is enough. We are full of this. We want recognition. We want inclusion. Once these policies are designed and put in place, we are not there. And from today, we are requesting representation. We are requesting this commission to take our experiences into consideration. We are asking this commission to look at the sufferings that we have gone through and to bear in mind that we do not have to experience it on our body in order for them to take concrete decisions that aligns together with national and international human rights standards, which applies in Europe and beyond Europe.
We will go first in the room and then online. If you are online and you want to ask anything, please raise your hand. Do we have any questions in the room? Yes, please.
Good morning, Vincenzo Genovese from Euronews. Thank you very much for this press briefing. If I may, other question for Mr. Yambio and Mr. Nalosso, as you're in contact, I guess, with many people from sub-Saharan African countries. It seems to me that the European Union, the Commission, but also the member states, like Italian government, for example, are sending clear messages to people to not even leave from their countries of origin. So my question is, are the people aware of these messages and they choose to leave because they have no other choice? Or are these messages not actually arriving in sub-Saharan African countries? Thank you very much.
For your question, I think regarding the message, I will give you, and I have already given you an example, why I had to leave my country because of the civil war. I will give you the nearest example next to the Europeans. The Ukrainians, the circumstance which they are in today. Do you think if they wanted to go to Asia and they are told not to come because they will be rejected at the border, will they still choose to stay under the raging war in Ukraine? They will try to leave the country at any cost. It is the same situation happening now in Sudan. When the war broke out on the 15th of April, until now, there is no solidarity that has been shown to the people of Sudan. If you look at the border in Chad, thousands of people, children, women, who are starved. All these are recorded, provided, broadcasted by journalists, by UN, by these IOM agencies, that I am today even standing against their inability to bring the voices of these people to the table of the European Commission, to the parliamentarians who are able to take decisions. If you look at the border where people are queuing to access the entry to Egypt, they are being denied. The same to Ethiopia, the same to South Sudan. Why is there no recognition? This message cannot define the right to life when you are in risk. This message is nothing to people, no matter how they continue to send it. It will never have an effect so long as there is war in our countries of origin. If they want to send a clear message, we want the EU to provide and to advocate for peace in our countries of origin. I never wanted to come here. But my country has been ravaged by war, and we have been forced to fight wars when I was only 12 years old, by weapons that come from the West. And when I mention West, it is all these European countries. It is the Americas. We should stop being hypocrites, and we should advocate for a global recognition. And this is what we want. We will gain it at any cost.
Questions in the room. I will go online. I see Michelangelo, please press the speaker's button and introduce yourself. And we see you now.
Yes, so Michelangelo Severnini from the Italian magazine L'Antidiplomatico. I would like to ask Mr. Yambio why is that in the voices and stories he tells there are never those of the migrants asking, indeed begging, to go home from Libya. These people are asking to be freed and brought home. I have collected hundreds of messages with these kinds of requests over the last 5 years. Why are these voices not heard in your words?
Michelangelo, First, I'm happy that you're here because I don't know where he is. The documentary that you produced, which was misleading about the people. I have lived in Libya for 4 years. The people who come from Libya, mostly Sudanese, mostly Eritreans, mostly Somalis, mostly from West Africa who are fleeing poverty. Tell me, who among them want to go back? This brings me to the point where IOM is forcing people, coming and making agreement with the Libyan authority to lock people inside detention center so they can go back to their countries of origin. And at this point, I mentioned UNHCR because they have been watching us passively without bringing our voice to the international community so they can advocate, so they can offer resettlement thoughts to the people that needs to live a life. No one in Libya wants to go. The people who have come to Libya are seeking places where they can find access to educate themselves, to have access to food. Libya today is still part of Africa, and it is one of the richest countries that is still able to provide provision to the people that needs to nourish their family. No one wants to leave Libya, but the moment the EU creates a mafia regime that kills without a touch, the moment EU decides to kill people in Libya and beyond and in the Sahara region, people find it unacceptable to leave. When you look at the people, ask them, why do they want to go back? Who is telling them to go back? Why did they leave their country? And why would they choose to go home without nothing? To go home desperately, to go home while choosing to only suicide themselves. The documentary you provided, we have been denouncing it, and we today here denounce it because the voices you produced with our voice, with our stories, misleading and providing to the Italian media is misleading. We denounce that. People like you are the one killing us.
Are there any other questions online? I don't see any other journalists who raised their hands. If there are no questions, I will wrap it up here. Thanks a lot to the participants, to the journalists, and to the interpreters, and do not hesitate to get in touch if you need any further information. Thank you.